Well, hello. My name is Anthony Sicaro, founder and president of Providence Financial and Insurance Services, located in the heart of the San Fernando Valley in Woodland Hills, California. And periodically, I like to do these videos to keep my clients informed with regards to their portfolios and what's going on in the economic environment. And if you are a client of mine, you know how much I appreciate your business and appreciate your trust. So thank you. If you're not a client of mine and you see anything that catches your curiosity or you want to talk more about, feel free to call our office. And probably the best way to do that is to just get our phone numbers from our website, which is providencefinancialinc.com. And all of our contact information is there. Well, for the last week or two, I almost feel like there's a little bit of a calm in between the storm. And I say that realizing that, today is April 3rd. It's Friday. And the last I looked before I signed on to this video, the market was down about 300 points. And normally if the market's down 300 points, that's a big deal. But in our recent days, if the market's down anything less than 1,000 points, now all of a sudden it's kind of become ho-hum. And the reality is I think we have to be careful. So I do feel like we're a little bit in the calm between the storm. So let me tell you what I want to talk about in this video. There are 3 items I want to discuss. I'm going to really try to keep this video short because I think I can knock these off the list, and yet they're important. I want to talk about something called Orion. I then want to talk about the new required minimum distribution rules, touch on those. And then I do want to talk a little bit about the market as well too. So those are what we're going to talk about in the next few minutes here. So first of all, Orion. Some of you got an email from Orion that had Sound Income Strategies logo on it, and we got some requests asking if it was legitimate or if it was a phishing email, and people just wanted to know. And the answer is that it's a very legitimate email. Now, the reality is that Orion is a service that we pay for, that it costs us thousands of dollars a month to be able to offer this service for free to our clients. Most of advisors don't offer you anything like this at all. Most advisors allow you to rely on TD Ameritrade, and if you have 2 or 3 or multiple accounts at TD Ameritrade, then you can look at each account individually, and there's very little research you can do or very little analytics you can do with regards to what's available at TD Ameritrade. It's just not available for analytics. So for example, at TD Ameritrade, you cannot combine households. And what I mean is you can log in and you can see all your accounts that are part of the household, but if you want to see what the total household portfolio is, you can't do that. And if you want to see what the total percentage of certain investments are in a household, you can't do that. You can look, and you have to look at each account individually. Well, Orion will allow you to put everything together as one portfolio, and that way you're going to see it the way we see it, because we manage everything at the household level, meaning that if you've got 5 different accounts, we're looking at one total balance. We're not looking at all 5 accounts. We're looking at all of the accounts as a whole. And if you look at one account, then you're going to see different results than if you look at another account. Whereas if you look at the whole, you're going to get a different picture. You're going to see what the results are for the total portfolio, not just the individual pieces. And TD Ameritrade won't let you do that, but Orion will. So you can look at everything on a household level. Another thing TD Ameritrade won't let you do is they won't let you change the date. So sure, you can go back and look at your last statements, but you can't see, well, how did what was the balance of your account yesterday or 2 days ago or last week or last month or last year? You can't do that. Well, Orion will let you do that. It'll let you change the dates. Another thing Orion will do is there's a report section there, and Orion will allow you to click on the reports. And right now, there's just a limited number of reports. The reports that you're going to see there now are just income-based because that's what we're about, right? It's all about the income, especially for people that are, in the latter half of life, which is the area that we specialize in. So there's several income reports, and you can actually press the button and run a report and see the report for yourself. You can see how much income you're getting per account. You can see how much income you're going to get total. That's one of the more common questions we have is, Anthony, how much income am I getting from my account? So this will allow you to do that. So there's reports that will allow you to run the report. Also, we have the ability, I'm pretty sure I'm going to say that we have the ability to add additional reports. So if there's something you want to see that you can't see, then just email us and let us know, and I'll find out if we can do that. Now, I've been using 2 of these systems side by side for about a year, maybe a little over a year. We've been using Orion, and we've been using Black Diamond. Okay, and Black Diamond has now gone away. Our contract has ended there. That went away. Orion for us is a little less expensive, and it's a little more robust. It actually allows us to do some things that Black Diamond didn't allow us to do. But I've been using the advisor side of Orion for a year and change, but I've not used the client side because I haven't had any clients on it. It's just been the side that we have. So whereas I'm very familiar with how to use it as an advisor, I'm less familiar with how to use it as a client. And so there may be some capabilities in there that I'm not even aware of. But the bottom line to you is this. If you got that email, then it was legit. And I was supposed to have the opportunity to review it and make the email say that I want. The email, in my opinion, was very unprofessional. Matter of fact, it didn't even use first names. It put, Dear Sakaro or whatever. So the reality is to me, it was unprofessional, but it went out without my knowledge, without me having approved it. So it did the job. It's given you a link. It just didn't match our level of professional acumen, which you're all used to. So I apologize for that. In the end, not a big deal. But certainly that wasn't the way it was supposed to happen. Now, the other thing, too, is that it only gave you a link for 24 hours. I've also been told after the fact, because I complained about that and said 24 hours is not enough time for anyone to do anything. I've been told that that it was supposed to be longer. It wasn't longer. So if you want to log in to Orion, then just email us. And what we can do is we can push out another link to you. And then you can go ahead and just click on that link, and then you can create your own account. Another important factor of this is that this is how we're going to be giving you your billing statements. There's a statements portion on Orion that allows you to see your TD Ameritrade statements. The reason is because a lot of people will use this type of service to replace TD Ameritrade. If you go onto Orion, you're going to see the exact same thing that's already on TD Ameritrade. So there's really no reason to have both. Orion gives you everything that TD Ameritrade gives you, plus more. And with Black Diamond, the statements weren't available on Black Diamond, so you had to log into TD Ameritrade to get the statements. But with Orion, the statements from TD Ameritrade are built right in, so you can actually go and take a look at your statements. But there's also going to be an area that when we invoice you and when we deduct the fees from your accounts, there's going to be an invoice there. And that invoice is going to be posted in in Orion under the area that I think is titled report. So we're going to bill you and you're going to see an invoice there, but you have to log in to actually view the invoice. And you may get notified. You will probably get notified every time we put an invoice in there by email, so you know that it's there. So when you get these future notifications from Orion, then you'll know that it is not phishing. It's a legitimate email. So I think that's all I want to cover with regards to Orion. Again, my apologies for the lack of professionalism in the email that got sent out. Really no harm, no foul, except it just didn't match with how professional we normally like to do things when we do things in bulk like that. So, but if you have any questions about that, let me know. Email us. If you need that link again, let us know. We'll push that link out to you, and no problem as far as that's concerned. So that's Orion. And again, it's spelled Orion. You want to document that so when stuff comes through, you'll just have it in memory. So let's switch gears and let's talk about required minimum distributions. Well, required minimum distributions, as you know, used to be that when you turned 70 and a half, you had to take a certain amount of money out of your IRA. Well, the Secure Act, as of January 1st of 2020, made it so that the new RMD rule is 72 years old. So if you turned 70 and a half in 2019, then you had to stick under the old rules. However, if you turned 70 and a half in 2020 or beyond, your new RMD age is 72. Well, now what's happened is as a result of the CARES Act that the president signed into law on March 27th, what it has done effectively, it is that it has waived RMDs for 2020. And this really applies to everybody. This applies to your IRAs. It applies to your retirement plans from your employers, 401ks, 403bs, TSAs, everything that is considered a defined contribution plan. The only thing it does not apply to is it does not apply to defined benefit plans. These are plans that are paying you a monthly pension, that it's just pension only, pension only, pension only. There's no lump sum. If you're just getting a pension, it doesn't apply to those, because there's no such thing as an RMD with the pension, because it's just income. There's not a lump sum that you have to take a percentage out of. It also applies to inherited IRAs and inherited Roth IRAs. A Roth IRA, you don't have to take an RMD while you are alive if it's your Roth. But if you inherited a Roth IRA, then you do have to take an RMD, except in 2020. So the reality is RMDs for 2020 are gone. And what this has done is this has created a number of questions that we've gotten from our clients. And so I want to just knock off a couple of questions very quickly. One of the questions we get is, what happens if in fact you have waited until 2020 to take an RMD for 2019? So let me clarify. Let's say you turned 70 and a half in 2019, so you're under the old rules. Well, the year you turn 70 and a half, or under the new rules, 72, but the year you turn your RMD age, then you have until April 1st of the following year to take your required minimum distribution. So some of you that turned 70 and a half in 2019 may have already taken your distribution. And some of you might have been saying, wait, I have until April 1st, 2020 to take my distribution. I'm going to wait. Now, generally speaking, most people don't wait. And generally speaking, we don't recommend that you wait, because if you wait till April 1st of 2020, in our example, to take your required minimum distribution for 2019, well, then by December 31st of 2020, you have to take another RMD. So that means that even though you've taken an RMD for 2019 and 2020, because you took them both in 2020, they're going to show up on your same tax return. And although there's exceptions, the reality is most people would rather take it and are probably better off taking their RMD in the year that they're going to incur it instead of waiting. So this is one of those areas that if you did that, if you turned 70 and a half in 2019 and you actually took your RMD in 2019, then the bad news is you got penalized for doing what you should have done, because the government's not going to allow you to undo that. However, if in fact you have not taken, or you did not take your RMD for 2019 yet, as of yet, then anyone that had not taken an RMD for 2019 in 2020, those RMDs are waived. So if you waited till after December 31st to take 2019 RMD and you just never took it, then the reality is that's waived. So effectively, you're going to have two waivers. You're going to have a waiver of 2019 RMDs and a waiver of 2020 RMDs. Quite frankly, kind of seems unfair. Unfair for people that took the 2019 RMDs and now they can't get it back, but I'm not the one making the rules. Don't shoot the messenger. This is just what the rules are. Now, another question that brings up is this, and pay attention. If you've taken an RMD in the first part of this year and you wished you hadn't have because they just passed these rules on March 27th, there may be some relief for you. And what you may be able to do is you may be able to take those RMDs and roll them over back into your IRA with no harm, no foul, no penalty. You may be able to do that because there is no RMD. Now, normally you cannot roll over an RMD. You take an RMD out, it has to stay out, right? But the reality is that there's no RMD this year. So if you, in the beginning of 2020, so this is only for RMDs that are January 2020 and beyond, if you took an RMD in 2020 and you wished you hadn't have, you might be able to roll it over as long as you meet two tests. The first test is you have to get it back into an IRA within 60 days. Okay, so if you took your RMD in January, then you're already beyond the 60 days. There's nothing you can do. Sorry, you didn't know the rules because the rules didn't exist. This is what the government says. You're just going to have to claim it. Nothing changes. You can't put it back. But if you've taken your RMD within the last 60 days, then you have to meet the second rule. And the second rule is that you're only allowed to do one required minimum distribution every year. So you have to have not done another RMD rollover. I'm sorry, let me back that up. You have to have not done another rollover in the last 365 days. If you have done one in the last 365 days, then you can't do the strategy. But if you have not done a rollover from an IRA in the last 365 days, and it has been within 60 days since you actually took your supposed RMD, since you took the withdrawal out of your IRA, then you can roll that money back into an IRA. And there'll be no harm, no foul. They treat it as a rollover. So that's one very common scenario that we get. And I will also throw in, without getting into a lot of detail, that it's also an opportune time to take the minimum distribution that you would have taken had you have been required to do so for 2020 and roll those funds into a Roth IRA. You were going to have to take the money anyway. You were going to pay the taxes anyway. Why not take that money that you were going to have to take anyway and do what you could not do under the rules where RMDs is not waived? And once you put it into a Roth IRA, and if you put it into a Roth IRA, you're still going to pay the taxes just like you would have if they didn't change the rules. But now all of a sudden, Roth IRAs grow tax-free forever. So in past years, in years where an RMD is required, you cannot roll an RMD into a Roth IRA. Wouldn't that be nice? Can't do it. But there's no RMD this year. I'm going to recommend maybe you take it anyway and you roll it into a Roth IRA. Something to think about. If you want to talk about that individually for you, call my office. Let us know if it's something that you think is right. And, we can certainly do that as well too. Another thing about IRAs, and not so much about RMDs, but about contributions. Normally, you have until April 15th to be able to contribute to an IRA or Roth IRA for the previous year, okay? So now, because the tax postponement goes to July 15th, they've moved the tax filing deadline to July 15th. You actually have until July 15th at this point to be able to add money for 2019. So if you want to do that, you can. I don't recommend you wait until the last day. You can pretend that you still have until April 15th. What is that, 12 days away? I would still do that anyway just to get it done. But if you happen to miss the April 15th deadline, or if you're watching this video and April 15th deadline is come and gone, you actually do have until July 15th to be able to add money or make a contribution for the previous year, for 2019. So that's something nice to know as well too. Let me glance at my notes real quick and see if there's anything else that I want to talk about. 2021 RMDs are not waived. We have had that question a couple of times. So those are really the most common questions that we've had with regards to required minimum distributions and with regards to what's going on at this point with those and the fact that they have been waived. Again, if you have any questions about your specific situation, feel free to call our office and certainly let me know. And by the way, if you don't want an RMD, and here's what's going to be tricky. If you don't want a required minimum distribution this year, many of your accounts, I'm going to say almost all of your accounts, are set up automatically so that you get them. So if you don't want them, what you're going to need to do is to let us know that you don't want it, and then we're going to have to turn off the automatic distribution. If for some reason that doesn't happen and you get it, then again, we've got 60 days to roll it right back. So no harm, no foul, but really just easier on all ends if you let us know that you don't want your RMD. And by the way, you can always take your RMD. Just because you don't have to take it doesn't mean you can't. A lot of you want and need your income. So if you want it and you need it, this doesn't affect you at all. The required minimum distribution is exactly that. It's a minimum distribution. So you can always just take your RMD if you want to as well too. So for those of you that are automatically set up with us, that's going to stay that way unless we hear from you. So, okay. So with that said, let's move on to the final segment of this video that I want to spend a few minutes talking about. And I want to just talk about where we are in the market. I want to talk about what's gone on just from a very surface level overview. I promise you I'm not going to talk any more about income and the fact that you're invested for income. It's funny, I've had a lot of you that have called about other things, and and you tell me, we get it. We don't need to talk about income anymore because we got income. We're beaten to death about income. And, people repeat back to me my housing analogy and rental property analogy. And so you guys get it. And, you've seen it. We had a client that emailed us just the other day who said, my portfolio is yielding 6.2%. Balance is down a little bit, but my income stayed the same. And he had a bunch of exclamation points there and was just excited that he's getting income. He's living off the income. The income stays the same, even though the balance is going to fluctuate. So the good news is your income stays the same. And so we're not going to talk any more about that. If this is the first time you're watching this video or you're not a client of mine, then go back and watch the video. I did one video 2 weeks ago, Friday. Actually, I'm sorry, a week ago, Sunday. And then I think 3 weeks ago, Friday. So I've done 2 videos recently where we've talked about income. Go back and watch those videos if you like. So the good news is your income stays the same. Here's the bad news. The bad news is, I think, in my heart of hearts, that things are going to get a lot worse before they get better. I had a client I was talking to the other day who made a statement that really I found just interesting. I didn't really see the logic behind it, but the statement was something to the effect of, my portfolio's down. I'm a little bit nervous. I understand the income, analogy, and I understand that I'm still getting my income. But, and we're going to let it sit for now. But if it goes down any more, then I'm going to have to make a change. I can't stomach it going down anymore. And my response was, why would you do that? Why would you wait until it goes down more before deciding to make a change? And the reason that I said that is because of the fact that I think it's going to go down more. Is it possible we're wrong? Absolutely. I hope we're wrong. If you go back and you look at all the TV interviews I've done, if you listen to all the radio shows I did while I was 5 years on KRLA every Saturday afternoon, that I've talked about this for many, many years. We're expecting this to come. And when you look at history, oftentimes the market will jump down 20 or 30% like it is now, and it will hang around that level for a little while, and then it will take another leg down. Matter of fact, if you look at 200 years of history, as far as I remember and as far as the research I've done, the only time that didn't happen was the October of 1987 crash. So we are at a little bit of a lull right now. And again, I say that realizing that, the market's generally only moving for the last few days, maybe 300 to 500 points. I think last week it moved 900 points. And in all fairness, the reality is now it seems like anything less than 1,000 points, it's ho-hum, not a big deal. I mean, people have kind of gotten used to that. But we've kind of settled in the 21,000, 22,000 range for the Dow Jones for the last at least week, maybe 10 days, maybe 2 weeks. And so we're kind of hanging in that level. And that's very typical for a stock market to come down and hang in that level. I think, and a lot of the economists that I've followed and even talked to and interact with, a lot of them think that the market is dramatically underestimating several key factors and several key indicators that are critical. I think that the market is dramatically underestimating how slow and how much revenue these companies have lost. You think about GDP. You think about the fact that GDP is tied to how well the economy does. And for the last 10 or 12 years now, the government's trying to get GDP to be at 2% growth every year, 2% growth every year. And they haven't been successful doing that. There's been some quarters, without pulling out the charts, I think there were 2 quarters in 2019, I think, if I remember right, that GDP was over 2%. But most of the times it's been between 1.6 and 2 in that range. So they're trying to get GDP to the growth to be in the 2% range. That's what they've been trying to do for 10 or 12 years. Well, they've predicted that next quarter GDP, if you haven't heard, is going to be negative 24%. Negative 24%. The reality is that's monstrous. There's been nothing close to that on record, on history, ever. And I don't think that the market's pricing that in properly. That's a big negative that I don't think is being caught up. I don't think the market is pricing in the economic impact that's going to happen after this, and part of that's going to be unemployment. Initially there were 3.25 million people unemployed. The market just discounted that. Last I heard, there were over 6 million people unemployed. I talked to a lady that was unemployed. I think it was yesterday or the day before, and she was explaining that she's called unemployment every day and spent on hold 2 to 3 hours a day and then gets disconnected. And that's been going on. And if you don't apply for unemployment by Sunday, then the reality is that you miss unemployment for the entire week. So a lot of people can't even get unemployment. So that's a big thing. But the market, I believe that the market is pricing in the fact that there's a lot of quote unquote temporary layoff people at this point, and they're pricing in that all these people are going to go back to work. I don't think that's true at all. I think that half these people are going to lose their jobs permanently. I think companies are streamlining, and companies, when they come back from this, they're not going to have the cash flow they had. A lot of them are going to have spent down their savings. A lot of them are going to be lucky to even be in business still. So for them to get back full staff, I think is just unrealistic. But I don't think the market's pricing that in. I just haven't heard a lot about that. Another thing that we're concerned about is bankruptcies. There's some big companies out there that are on the brink of bankruptcy. Hilton Hotels, in a very bad position. L Brands, I'd be surprised if L Brands doesn't go bankrupt. They're in the clothing industry. So a couple of big companies, and really, I've talked about this before, but when a company goes bankrupt, one of these large companies like Hilton, people are going to freak out and they're going to sell their stocks, and then the media is going to jump on all the debt bandwagon that all these companies have built up over the years. Over the years, they've been touting stock buybacks and good for shareholders and cause the stock price to go up. And now the stock buybacks are going to become the enemy because over the years, companies have been borrowing money, going into massive debt to buy back their own stock. And that, while it causes the stock to go up, that's great. But while it causes a corporation's debt to go up and potentially not be able to make their bond payments, well, then that's not good. So soon as one thing like that happens, it's going to be a big negative for the market. So there's really multiple reasons why I think we're going to have another leg down from here. And, and that guy that told me, if it goes down anymore, I'm going to sell, I'm going to get out. I told him, I said, look, if you're going to panic and get out when the market goes down again, then panic now and get out now. Because I think the odds are in your favor, or the odds are against you, that the market's going to go up from here. The odds are in your favor that we're going to have some more problems, and your portfolios, and that's all of you guys, your portfolios are probably going to come down. You saw your portfolios come down in the initial shock. Most of you have seen your portfolios bounce back to some degree. Don't get lulled into thinking that's where they're going to stay and like, whew, glad that was over. No, it's not over yet. We are not over. You're probably going to see your portfolios come down more. How much? I don't know. Great question. I wish I knew, but probably significantly, probably a lot. So if you're going to panic, this is the time to do it. And some of you may very well want to make a change. When we went through that process and we talked about all the different investments, we generally decided that we would put, this amount of investments in the insured category and this amount of investments in the uninsured category. I often refer to them as the conservative and the moderate category. And a lot of you have done extremely well in your lives, and your portfolios with us might be down to 15, 20% at this point. And you might be saying, look, I don't need the headache. I don't need the stress. We put some in moderate. I kind of wish we would have put some more over in the insured category. Let's make a change. Well, if you're thinking that, call me, because now's the time to do it. Not when we go into the next rapids. As your white water guide, right? When we got in the raft, I told you there were going to be rapids, and we knew there were going to be rough times, and we've already got over one set of rapids. Right now, we're in the calm. We're waiting for the next rapids to come, and the worst thing you can do is get out in the rapids. Right now, we're between rapids. If you're really freaking out and you're really worried, then let's have a conversation about that. But do not wait until the next rapids come. That's it. So anyways, wanted to give you my 2 cents worth. Really hope that this update helped. If you want to make a Roth conversion, or you want us to go ahead and take you off of automatic distribution for your retirement accounts, then you need to email us and let us know. And anything else we've talked about. Any other questions, call my office, let us know, email us, and we'll certainly be in touch. So thank you for watching. Hope it's helped. God bless.